All right, I'm trying something a little bit different this time. There were a number of albums that I've been listening to within the past few months that I didn't really have enough to talk about for a full-length album review, so I decided to kind of conglomerate four of them and call this whole segment Quarter Notes. I do love a good play on words, and quarter notes being quick, this one being four albums, and I call myself notes. So I don't know, I kind of like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about four albums that I've been listening to that I didn't really have a whole lot to say about, but I still want to talk about. I'm going to show the album cover first, and then I'm going to dive into each of those albums. So let's dive into the first one. Never again. Love Over Fear by Pendragon. Now, I have always kind of kept an eye on Pendragon because Pendragon has been one of those really interesting neo-prog bands that were one of the first to make that switch into the darker movement of the 2007-2008. And I loved some of their more symphonic and showy kind of aspects. We've seen these from bands like Arena, from IQ, but I particularly love their 90s albums, the World, the Window of Life, the Masquerade Overture. But then in 2008 they put out Pure, which was this darker approach, this guttural and meaty aspect. And what we have on Love Over Fear is kind of a return to an earlier form. It's a lot more airy, it's a lot more atmospheric, it's a lot more impressionistic. It's not quite as meaty as, say, Pure or Passion was, but it is very much that symphony of atmosphere. And sometimes this really works, and I really like this as like an atmospheric album, but it doesn't have a whole lot of that gripping or grounding that past albums have. And this was even from their earlier parts of their discography, from, say, like the Window of Life or the Masquerade Overture. And no track off of this album really had that same kind of passion behind it. It didn't really have that same kind of vibrato. And I don't know, it could be a little bit on the melancholy and over the top aspect, like Starfish and the Moon. It was kind of fun. I think my favorite track off of this is Eternal Light. I like the journey that we have on this longer stretch. It allows the band to kind of stretch their legs a little bit more. But yeah, overall, this one just kind of left me not cold and not really wanting more, but it did leave me a little bit disappointed. And I found the more time I was spending with it, the less I was getting out of it. But I mean, if this is your jam, then it's something that's probably up your alley. So, I mean, go and check it out. My rating for this would probably just be a stream, though. It's going to be hard because I don't think it's on any streaming platforms. I had to actually pay for this album, but yeah, it's a pleasant album, which is something that I don't know, I didn't think I would be attaching to Pendragon at this point. So yeah, that's about it for Love Over Fear from Pendragon. No matter what you may have done. So right when this whole lockdown, this whole state of emergency thing happened, Neal Morse put out a compilation album of such called Hope and a Future. And I've actually been listening to this a lot more than any other release that's come out of this whole thing. As I mentioned, it's more of a conglomeration of songs. It's a compilation, and generally I don't listen to compilations, but this all revolves around hope, relationship with God, and kind of seeking guidance and seeing through hardships. So we have a lot of standard tracks on here, like Wind at My Back being the closing piece off of this, The Storm and Whirlwind being the second one. I particularly like, even though it's so over the top that it's like, is God Won't Give Up. It's over the top and overblown, but sometimes I just kind of need that, you know? I think that's a lot of fun. And I mean, most of these tracks are in relationship with his relationship with God and asking God for help, and God is the future and he won't let you down kind of an idea. And so that whole hope and a future is woven throughout all these tracks, and for a solid piece of music to sit down and listen to, if you're craving for some of that, please, I just need something happy for once during this whole thing, this is going to solidify that pretty well. It's going to satisfy. Now, if you're not into this, it's going to be torture. So know what you're getting into going in. It was free, and that's why I downloaded it. I think it still is. And yeah, I enjoyed it, and it's one that I've been returning to. So yeah, if it's up your alley, again, this one's more of a stream though. It's nothing that's brand new. I wouldn't say that anything on here is specifically noteworthy on this. It is just, you know, songs that we've already heard before, kind of reimagined and put about here. So yeah, go and check it out if it's up your alley. But yeah, that's all I got to say about that one. Summerland by Dool. I think that's how you pronounce them. I believe this is their second full-length album, coming off of the heels of their 2017 release of Here Now, There Then, which I haven't heard. I've only really heard Summerland. I'm really digging this album. I've been listening to this album quite a lot. This was released this year. And I'm liking the interplay. I'm liking how heavy it is, but it's never so heavy that it would be qualified as metal. This is more of just like heavy prog. And I'm loving the orchestration of the tracks themselves. I'm finding myself returning to this album again and again and again. I love some of the longer pieces, like the title track of Summerland is quite fun. It's allowing the boys to stretch their legs a little bit more. It has much more of a heavy atmosphere about it, as well as the last track of Dust and Shadows. Again, the longer stretches of music allows for a little bit more of an interplay. It allows for ebb and flow within the track itself. It's allowing them to try different things, see what works, see what doesn't. But I think at the end of the day, the main thing that's missing from this album is some really meaty passages. Like, there's no one point off of this album that really stands out for me. It's a good time from start to finish, but nothing really grabs me. There's a lot of air going on and not enough perch. And I know this is something that I've mentioned a lot, and maybe that's just me, but I'm not feeling 100% connected with this. I'm always kind of grasping for whatever it is that they're throwing at me, and I never quite feel 100% connected with any of the tracks that are on here. It's still a good album and one that I would check out, but I just don't feel all that connected to it. I still find myself returning to it, even though I'm not all that connected with it. So yeah, it's a fun, heavier side of the album, and I think that front cover of the album does paint a perfect picture in that there's a lot going on, there's a lot of different things that are being thrown there, but there's no real tangible coalescing of like an actual object, if that makes any sense. But this is one that I would definitely download. There's still a lot of great things off of this album. Again, a little bit more on the heavy side. It's not quite straight up metal, but it is definitely more of like a heavier rock, progressive rock. So yeah, it was a good time.
Love that silver gray first morning light.
Okay, so I know what you're kind of thinking. Why am I covering Keane on this? Cause and Effect, the album that they put out last year. Couple things. First, I love Keane. I love their first two albums. I love Hopes and Fears, and I love The Iron Sea, I think it is, or Under the Iron Sea. Those first two albums from Keane just blew me away. The other two, The Night Train, and I think Strange Lands, they didn't really connect with me all that much, but Cause and Effect has really been. I just found out about this last week, and I've been diving in, and I've been really enjoying it. There's a lot more somber moments on this. This is reminding me a little bit more of like Perfect Symmetry, their third album, especially with tracks like The Way I Feel and Strange Room. I love how solid a lot of these tracks are. The album opens up with a 5.5-minute perfect song of You're Not Home, which builds itself right up into this really great explosion of sound. I also love the track Put the Radio On. This is the one that's reminding me a lot of I think it's Playing the Game from their third album of Perfect Symmetry. And I'm also really loving some of their like fun songs like Stupid Things and Phases. The overall feeling that I get with this is a soft, mellow, happy album. There's definitely some somber moments on it, but overall I feel like this is a little bit more on the happy side, even with some of the more melodramatic tracks of Love Too Much and I'm Not Leaving, and the closing track of I Need Your Love. At no point is it ever like a wallow in my own self-pity. At no point is it ever like a, I wish you were here. Like the only one that kind of comes close is that first track of You're Not Home. And even that one provides a really fun crescendo. Now, obviously this is a very poppy rock album. It definitely doesn't fit within my usual wheelhouse, but it's still one that I feel like I wanted to talk about, even if I didn't want to do a full-on review. And this is one that I would easily pick up in physical format. This is one that I most likely will be ordering, and it's just kind of like it's a nice album, you know. It's a nice little comfort album, and I think I need that during like right now. So yeah, that's about it. Those are my 4 albums. What did you guys think? I'm really kind of digging this new style. I mean, I'm only one video in, but let me know what you think. What are albums that you would like to see on this feature? This will help me talk about albums that I don't have a whole lot to say about, but still give you my thoughts about it in a quick and easy way. So let me know of the thoughts you have about the albums that I covered, as well as albums that I didn't cover. Like, let me know of any albums you want me to cover by commenting down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, you guys are definitely the best. And until next time, notes out.